have Mr. Metry Seaga. Good afternoon, my brother. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Well, I don't want to answer that question. I guess many of my listeners know by this, yes, but I must tell you that I am hanging in there, my brother, and hoping for the best.
Good.
Now, you have been involved in business for a very long time. You
Yes, I have the gray hairs to prove it.
No, but I'm sure that run in the family. And that's why you have that at all. But you are what? Still president of the PSOJ.
Yes, sir.
Right. And it's very important that we hear from persons like you because oftentimes we hear from a lot from politicians and other persons. But nowadays, I realize we're not hearing much from the intellectuals. There was a time when you had Carl Stone and other people, but we're not hearing much at all. But tell us a little bit about yourself. I know, where were you born, for example? Which
I
school
was
you went
born.
to?
I was born at the St. Joseph's Hospital. I am the first of three children for my parents. Um, I I went to Miss Brown's school. It was a little school. I remember where, somewhere in Kingston, and then I
Yes.
went to the primary school, which is now Liberty.
Okay.
And I stayed there for my entire junior and high school. Then I went away to university, to
That's
the
Florida.
Florida International
Right.
University. And the day that I graduated, I came back home, um, and have
By the way,
started.
somebody gonna say, you're stupid, why didn't stay?
Well, that was never an option for me. I always knew that Jamaica, being my home, was where I wanted to be,
Yes.
and came back home immediately. I I started in business right away. I went into my mother's business. She had a rent-a-car business. Um,
Is she still
and
alive?
she's not. She passed a couple of years ago in the COVID crisis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
She was from Claremont, where she was born, and well, she was born in Kingston, but she grew up in Claremont.
Hmm.
Uh,
What about your dad?
my father was born in Kingston, raised in Kingston. He went to JC. He's a proud old JC boy. He's passed away as well.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he used to do diving for JC. Sorry, I
Hmm.
made that mistake.
But what is clear is that you're not only be involved in your own business, but you have been giving service elsewhere. Tell us about that. You've been sitting on boards and so on.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's my nature to try to bring people together. And
Yes.
I've found that through organizations that I got. So any business that I am involved in, I get involved with the organizations that they attend to.
Yes.
So my mother's business was a rent-a-car business. So I got involved with the Jamaica U Driver Association.
Oh,
I
yes.
sat on the
That
board.
doesn't exist anymore.
Yes, it does
It
actually.
does. Okay, interesting.
I served on their board, and I served as their deputy president to Mike Campbell of
Yes.
Island Car Rental, and then I became the president of the U Drive Association, and I was so for 4 years. I was the youngest president of that organization ever, which I'm pretty proud.
Really?
Then I got into the manufacturing business about 40 years ago, and I got into the JMA. Uh,
Yes.
I served in the ranks. I served
The
as
JB, that's a Jamaica Exporters
manufacturer, no, manufacturer.
Manufacturers Association.
At that time, it was just the manufacturers
But it was
association.
merged subsequently.
Well, that's one of my proudest moments, being able. So when I got in there, I served under Brian Pengelly as president, and then Michelle Chung was the president of the
Yes.
Exporters Association. And I sat down and had a chat with Michelle, and she was open to the idea. Many people said, listen, this will never happen. Two organizations just cannot agree. And we made it happen, and I'm very proud of that. And I became
Yes.
the first president of the Manufacturers and Exporters Association and served there for 2 years. Then I was asked to if I would consider running as president for the PSOJ. And whilst that was not in my mind at all, I realized that I had not finished giving service to my country.
Yes.
And it was important. I think that this organization that I run now has, or that I preside over, really has an important role to play in Jamaica in keeping our government and our opposition and our civil society in the forefront of keeping them under control and in check. And I think we have done so for certainly since the 1970s, and we need to continue so. So yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it.
And I'm happy that obviously your colleagues see you as a leader, and therefore they keep saying, listen, man, you have to lead. And you don't have a choice when the people call on you. Yeah, you don't have a choice. We tend to believe that, yes.
That is true.
We tend to believe that only political leaders are leaders, but we need consumers who are leaders, we need business persons who are leaders, because if you only have politicians as leaders, then the good Lord help you, because their main aim is to attain political power. And sometimes attaining political power sometimes stands in the way of what is rational or what is best for the country. I'm not saying that they don't look for the best interests of the country, but sometimes political expediency will get into the way.
Yeah, the beauty about sitting at this seat of power, the PSOJ, is that we have no political agenda.
Right.
And we are able.
By the way, I don't agree with you, though. You have a political agenda because any decisions made in the interest of the country is political. But somehow we seem to have come to the conclusion that anything political is bad. Because
you're right. You're right.
And nothing is wrong with politics. It's just that persons have done.
We're not politically partisan, is what I should have said.
Yes.
And that's the big difference. And many times politicians look at things with a particular lens that I understand completely. And that's why we need to be there to say, listen, take the politics out of it. This is what is best for the people.
I say take the politics out of it.
The politics, yes, absolutely.
Because, we don't go on a platform. You sometimes want to excite the crowd. And I remember many years ago when we had Prime Minister Michael Manley. And although it was a good thing, but he just announced free education. And I got the impression that quite a number of persons in the House were shocked. Even the Minister of Education. I remember Edwin Allen just walking off across the floor like a zombie to shake his hand, And I remember as a youngster that I said we better be careful, because while free education is a good thing, it could become the costly free education, which it did become eventually. So the timing has to be right for certain things, and you have to have proper planning. And this is where persons like yourself and consumers have a role to play to ensure that we do the right thing at the right time. So you're like the watchdogs.
Well, you could call it. Yeah, and for example, now we're in the Philippines, we have an election coming up, and we have the opportunity to review both parties' manifestos, which we are so doing now. Our technical people are looking at them closely.
Yes.
With a view to coming out and asking the right questions. What are the things that you have put on the table, and how are you intending to pay for them?
Well, since you asked that question now, you see, you are going to ask it right after we go for the break. So you're going to come back on again, and you're going to ask those questions, and you are also going to put forward as to what they ought to do, because they are leaders. You are also a leader. Mr. Metry Seaga, let's go for a quick break and come back, and let's continue with the conversation. This is Spot On with Vernon Derby. Welcome back. You're listening to Spot On. with Vernon Derby coming to you right here in the cabin, in the middle of the cabin, where we say we little but we tell. We're talking with Mr. Metry Seaga, the president of the private sector organization of Jamaica, and we'll learn a little bit about him. Yes, you probably think we all know everything about him. No, there are many Jamaicans who still don't know. So we learned quite a bit about him. We learned that he's a Jamaican, left to go foreign, go study, and someone will find back himself here started with the family business and continue. And let me know. Sometimes the cost of the businessman, then, but if we run all of them, you see, who going to build businesses? Who are we going to work with? How many of you are willing to even start your own business? Now, welcome back, Mr. Seaga.
Thanks for having me.
Right, you mentioned about the politics now, and you have to function in an environment, and so are your members. If the environment is not conducive to business, then you'll have to lock shop. And when you lock shop, I wonder what happens to the rest of us. I noticed, I released from the governor of the bank that they have enough reserves as foreign exchange reserves to help to stabilize the market. But it's clear to me that Jamaica is still there's a thin line in terms of where we are economically. But let's hear from you based on what they have said. And if you watch the debate, I was not too impressed with the debate. I just think the debate is just somebody making thing for the media. Anyhow, but let me hear your views as to where we are going.
So I think the debates are important because it gives people an opportunity otherwise to hear and see the people who are vying for the responsibility and the honor to serve in various capacities in our country. So I think they're important.
They are important, but before you continue, it's the way they are done. To me came across like a sophisticated press conference. Yeah. And I will tell you, while you probably as a businessman, you'll be different because you're a different segment of the market. You sit and listen. The average man out there, he wants to hear a dynamic speaker. He wants to hear energy, dynamism. It came across something staged. You ask one question, they say your time is up, and the person didn't even get to finish the question. So I'm telling you, from the people's point of view, it was boring. And many of the speakers lack personality. When you think of leaders like Edward Seaga or Michael Manley, who can really grab the audience, they didn't move anybody. They probably make some valuable points, yes, but it was grabbing the audience. I would say, no, they didn't.
So listen, we need the rara. We need the political platforms. We need the mass rally meetings. We need the jumping up, and and people like that, and they get to that. And I'm fine with that. Yes. I think we also need the manifestos, where those that are so inclined can read and then hold governments accountable. And when they are not doing what they said they were doing, we have to call them out on it and say, listen, you said you would do this, and you haven't. Why? And we need to press them to do them. If there are good reasons not to do them, tell us that so that we can agree.
Yeah, no. Right.
But so it's all forms part of what we call the silly season. But it's an important season. I have spoken to too many youngsters that are saying they can't bother vote, especially women. I've said to them, listen, do you know, as a person of color, as a woman, you know how many people had to die, how many people had to fight?
No, you can't. Right. They wouldn't know that, Mr. Seaga.
And you are taking it so willy-nilly, but you can't bother, it's nothing to vote about. And it is it's an indictment on us, some may say, that in the last election, I think only 23 or 28% of the people who could vote did vote.
Mr. Seaga, I have a very interesting suggestion. I don't know if you like it or you say it's stupid, but I have this theory that if I see two jackasses, I should not be forced to vote for one. Because if I vote for one, I make myself into a third jackass. Please don't, I'm not calling anybody a jackass. Let me just finish. Let me just finish. I would love to have a system where I can vote for jackass A, jackass B, or a sensible person, or none of the above. And if none of the above win, we have to have a re-election. But I don't think people should be forced to vote for someone who they don't support. That's my concern. We should give them the opposition and say none of the above. And if they don't vote, oh, then you can complain.
Here is the problem.
Yes.
That jackass have to take us up the hill. And we cannot walk. We have to take it. We need the jackass to ride up the hill.
But I'm still saying give the voters an opportunity to say none of the above. They should not be forced to vote.
But listen, if it is none of the above, who runs the country?
Then you have another election and the parties don't, because what happened, I believe we live in a democratic dictatorship. The parties select who they want to put up there. So when the people reject both of them, and more than likely that will not win. All you simply do is give them a chance not to endorse those candidates. So if none of the above win, they have to select two other candidates. They have another election for that constituency.
Yeah, but I hear you, and in a perfect world that may be able to happen. But in the world as we know it, nowhere in the world has that or can that happen, because the country needs to run in the meantime.
No, but I'm saying then, when they don't vote now, then I say you have no reason. That's my point. What if the jackasses will win, That's my opinion. But then those who don't support them would have been able to register the objection. That's my concern. They must be able to register the objection.
And people do register their objection by not voting. And
that's the point I'm making. By not voting,
I get that, and I understand that. But I think that we have to choose the lesser of the evils and force them to be better governors of our system. What we do is we elect based on promises, and we allow them not to fulfill those promises and say nothing and elect them again because we are either labor rights or comrades. And that we need to stop. As a nation, we need to hold our leaders more accountable. And that's what an organization like the PSOJ does.
Yes, and does a good job, but I must tell you, I want them too. I have no party, I have no group, but I must admit that I get support. I realize I have strong support. I do make sure I speak out. And I thought, right now, when you're on this program, a recording will be sent to our political leaders, and I said what I think to them also. Yes. Now, I know time is short, and we have to ask you, you better reserve next week because we can't get more to the meet. But you tell me, well, and if you're able to look at the PNP manifesto, the JLP manifesto came out, but then they have been campaigning on their achievements. So we can probably start looking at some of those. But I'm going to have you back next week because I believe that the private sector and other organizations need to have enough time to look at these things critically. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, so we have looked at the PNP manifesto and we have done an analysis of it.
Yes.
We have started today looking and doing our analysis of the JLP manifesto. What we plan to do is look at them both and put them side by side and look at what the issues are. Then we will ask the questions of them to see how they plan to fund what they are suggesting that they are doing. Because that's a critical component, that if we hear empty promises and we can't hold them to it because there is no money there to hold them to it, then what they're doing is tricking the people, and the politics comes into play.
And then we'll be singing, "There is a hole in the bucket."
Absolutely.
And how shall we fill the hole? Oh, Mr. Metry Seaga has all the money, and consumer Vernon Derby has the money. So we will fill that bucket, and then we will be left with empty pockets. And we know what happens when there's no money and there's a hole in the budget. We split more money, which I hope we never do again, and then inflation sets in. And then we have what is called, you have a sickness called IMF. And I bet you don't tell what IMF stands for. So I'll give you a trouble, Mr. Seaga. I bet you don't tell what IMF stands for.
Not what we used to say written on the road.
No, when I tell you what it stands for, it's my fault.
It's true.
Right. So, and when I say it's my fault, I mean all of us, because we sat down and allow empty promises to prevail, and then taxation, and then more inflation, and then the good Lord help us. Let me tell you what, let's take a short break and we come back, but I'm going to beg your book next week so we can probably need a second and a third week so we can talk about it, because the nation needs to hear what you guys are thinking, Mr. Seaga. Let's go for a quick break. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby, so come back Don't move. My guest, Mr. Metry Seaga. Welcome back. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby, coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. My very special guest, Mr. Metry Seaga. Welcome back, Mr. Seaga.
Thank you for having me.
By the way, let me explain my comments about jackass. It's an animal and it's an analogy. I hope you saw it as such. It's an analogy.
I certainly did. And
Right, it's an analogy, and nothing is wrong with an analogy, and a jackass is a great animal. So it's not meant, I wasn't calling anybody that. I was just saying if you have two jackasses. So let me make that very, very clear. Nothing is wrong with making analogies. You weren't offended by the statement? I hope not.
not in the slightest. And listen, as I said, the analogy is one that I use. Why I said that one of them has to take us up the hill is because I knew you were speaking about the animal.
Yes, but we have to be careful that we don't think much of a jackass. Therefore,
Mr. Darby, we don't think much of a jackass until we need him to climb a hill.
I hear you.
Everything has its place.
Everything
in this whole world has its place, and
right.
jackass, a mule is very important in the right circumstance. You could need water. That's the most important thing when you don't have it. If you have abundance of rain happening, you don't need water, you need a boat.
Yes.
So, yeah, I was not offended at all.
Right. Okay. Well, and I'm sure my listeners were not offended at all. But they're quite familiar with my style over these probably many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at, we don't have much time left, but of course we have to have you back next week. You say I'm booking you like I'm your boss, you know. Tell me what you've gleaned so far in the manifestos, and as of course we know that you wouldn't have gone through it in details, but you probably want to comment on some of them. So
yeah, well, the truth is it would be unfair to comment on one until I've seen both. What I will say is that the PSOJ gives a commitment to the people of Jamaica that we will hold whoever wins, we will hold them to the promises that they have made to the people of Jamaica by consistently holding their feet to the fire and ensuring that they make good on their promises, or at least tell us why they have not.
Yes. So hopefully next week you'll be able to look more at them.
Sure.
And see, and help to temper, but you don't have much time before the elections.
No, we have a week and 2 days left before the election, and we will analyze and we will look at both of them side by side.
But at
the
same time, I know you have your own ideas as a businessman and as an organization as to what some of the priorities are. So probably you can mention some of the priorities of any new government.
The objective, the PSOJ has identified that a lot of the hard work has been done to date by successive governments, not just this one.
Yes.
And we are at a stage in our history where we need to grow the size of our economy. I just came out of a meeting where we don't have enough teachers in the system. We need to pay our teachers better. But 70%.
So are you saying more money must come out of my pocket, Mr.?
No, what I'm saying is a bigger pocket. We need more pockets.
Yes.
We need a bigger pie. The economy needs to be made bigger. And the truth is that we can't make it off of ourselves alone, and we have to start exporting. We have to expand our economies outside the shores of our island. We live on a tiny island in the middle of the ocean, and we have to make our economy bigger by selling our goods and services to people outside of our shores, making the pie bigger so that the government can collect more taxes, less from each individual, but more aggregate, so that we can have more teachers and pay them better. We can have more police and pay them better and give them better equipment, so that we can have more nurses and pay them better and better equipment in our hospitals. These are the things that we need for our people. We have done the hard work to get where we are now. What we need is a right environment to grow our economy. And that's what each of the parties need to concentrate on to win the favor of the private sector and the people of Jamaica
Right.
by telling us how they're going to grow the economy.
How are you going to? But let me ask you: we have heard from one prime minister. We talk about that massive market to the north.
Yes.
We have seen some challenges there with the increased tariffs and so on. To what extent are we looking at South America, countries like Brazil, which has a vast population, or ever market where they speak a different language? With your private sector been looking at South America?
Yes, the short answer is yes, but I don't want us to look at what is happening in North America as challenges. I
Yes.
want to look at it as opportunities.
Okay.
Jamaica has been given a 10% tariff where before we had zero.
Yes.
However, other countries that had 30 before now have 90.
Ah, yes, yes.
Delta there is 60 versus our 10, which is 50. We are 50% better off in those markets than we were prior to these things happening. This is a huge opportunity for us, not a challenge. And
But
we need
then,
to grab
but
it
then,
with both.
but then we have a challenge, and I'm sure you probably will concur with me, of the cost of production, which is influenced significantly by the cost of electricity.
You know, whilst that has been said in the past, we've been looking closely at the numbers, and we did a cursory look
Yes.
where electricity is running about 2% for of 2% of manufacturing costs for most manufacturers.
Really?
Whilst our electricity rates are high, unless the industry in particular is sensitive and very high in electricity use,
Yes.
electricity doesn't need to be that huge a factor. No, it doesn't say that we mustn't get our electricity rates down. And
Yes.
it's one of the key elements that we're looking at in both manifestos to see if the governments are whoever forms the government will be committed to renegotiating licenses and putting the things in place to get electricity rates down. But I don't feel that we have issues. Listen, our location is the best of anywhere in the world, in the Americas, to export to the United States, to South America, and to the Caribbean. Full stop. We have the best location. We have an amazing port. We have great people. We have a good telecommunications network. We have a good infrastructure network. What we don't have is the people and the systems in place by the government to allow us to go ahead and do these things. And we have to take some of the responsibility as a private sector for not doing it yet. And we have to get to it now.
One other thing I think you need to look at is giving good customer service. I must tell you, it's not just a government thing, it's lacking nationally.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt about that. And we've gotten better.
Yeah.
But we have a long way to go. Long way to go.
And we need to automate more. Why should I have to drive to go to a business place only to find out that they don't have a particular product? We need to get more things online.
Absolutely. And the government has started,
Yes.
we get a lot of things regarding your licensing and your tax registration online now. And it's a process that's happening. I don't think we're moving at the pace we should be.
Right.
But we have to be grateful for what we have so far and continue to press to make sure that we get more.
It don't make sense we're talking about AI, which I call assimilated intelligence, when we haven't even started to use what we have. To give an idea, to use an analogy, we have a spreadsheet and a computer in front of us, but yet we take out the calculator. We add 2 + 2, and then we put it into Excel. And we have a manual system. We have a paper, and when you go, you still have to fill out a form, yes, and then after you fill out the form, they put it on the computer. So that is what we have happening. Or the banks will put up a site and say, go there. But when they put there, you want to talk to them, you still have to call them. When they could have built into that site, so you could message them, they could see where it's coming from, they could keep a track of your messages rather than call them on the telephone, and you sit there for probably 2-3 hours and you can't get through. Any final point you want to make before you leave us, Mr. Metry Seaga?
Well, thank you for the opportunity of having me. be here. I'm very happy to talk to you anytime about any matter, any subject, whether personal or PSOJ related. Keep on doing the good work.
And let me say, not because you're not a politician, we must hear from you as much as we hear from our politicians, because what will happen is that the discussion waters will be clouded with one color, and we want all the colors to be there, which includes the consumers and also the private sector. Thank you very much for consenting to be here with us, and I'm sure many of us listened, we learned, and we have made some decisions. Thank you very much, Mr. Metry Seaga. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Have a great day.